Now, businesses around the world have been greatly impacted by the coronavirus outbreak. Stories are aplenty of companies going bust or into receivership. However, slowly, food and beverage, hospitality, and even air travel under siege a year ago are slowly showing signs of life in cities like London and Melbourne. Here in Hong Kong, business confidence is at its lowest among all cities in the Asia-Pacific region. Many are pinning their hopes on the vaccine program to keep the momentum going. Ray Oh, who once led Hong Kong's Muay Thai team in international competition, is trained in the School of Hard Knocks. But not since running his own Muay Thai and fitness gym for the past 10 years has business been hit so hard. Fitness centres like Oh's were closed for nearly 7 out of the past 12 months in a bid to stop the spread of the coronavirus.
絕對係對我哋行業非常之唔公平。喺我哋呢個俾人停咗，俾政府強制停業咗幾次啦。咁其實咧係可以咁講，冇一次咧係關我哋事，個疫情控制唔到啦。跟住就喺我哋呢個行業係基本上係冇乜感染嘅個案情況之下咧，就無端白事停咗我哋。
Oh, who's also the convener of the Fitness and Combat Sports Alliance, representing more than 200 gym operators, estimates that more than a third of gyms in the territory are permanently down for the count, despite an earlier government subsidy to save jobs. During the tough times, Oh stayed afloat by increasing promotions for private and group classes, slashing prices in a bid to get more customers by word of mouth. It has worked, and business has gradually improved these past 2 months since the government relaxed restrictions at gyms again. Businesses have suffered a great blow because of COVID-19 this past 12 months. According to one recent survey by CPA Australia, confidence is at its lowest level 2 years running among all Asian Pacific cities surveyed, and that only 21% of small businesses expect to expand this year. More than $1.2 billion of relief measures have been dished out by the government in its latest budget for small and medium-sized enterprises, including extra funds for companies to diversify their markets. Hong Kong Small and Medium Enterprises Association President Pamela Mark says measures like the government's full guarantee loan scheme would be a much-needed shot in the arm for struggling businesses during the tough patch. Mark runs a wholesale and retail wine business and opened her outlet in Yuen Long, a township next to the Chinese border, because more than half of her customers were from the mainland. These visitors have since dried up, as the city has yet to reopen its borders to Chinese tourists.
That's why we face the turnover going down, okay, more than at least 60%, okay, because the amount they buy is a lot higher. They buy more premium wine, but for local people, they are more buying the average price, okay, and for the local, because of the pandemic, they stay home. And some of the restaurants around us, they are, because of the social distancing, they are locked down, okay? And then we drop our business to 80%, okay?
Instead, she's uncorked a whole crate of new customers by engaging social media and apps like Vivino and Wine Searcher. It's even brought her shop to the attention of English-speaking locals in the city. But driving the business through digital channels only gets you so far, when many small businesses here are in the catering trade or rely on overseas visitors or do import-export business. Most are pining their hopes on the vaccination program to return the city to normality and to get spending flowing again.
Melbourne's Chinatown is finally coming back to life. Its iconic street market has only just reopened after several months of on and off lockdowns.
So we're definitely happy to see all the people coming around, come out, have fun, enjoy the freedom that we haven't had the last 6 months.
With more than 5,000 visitors a night, stallholders hope the event will be a recipe for success. For Erica Chu, it's a perfect opportunity to expand her suburban bubble tea cafe, a sign of hope after an unpredictable year in business.
Because we adapted quite quickly, takeaway was really good for us. Definitely not as good as when it was prior to the pandemic, but we still managed to keep ourselves on our feet.
The city has eliminated community transmission of COVID-19 for now. But restrictions on movement have come at a heavy cost to thousands of businesses. Melbourne Chinatown Precinct Association President Danny Doon estimates activity in Chinatown is still down 40% compared to before the pandemic.
We lack of tourists, we lack of students, they're not coming back. Yet, hopefully, that will open up the border very soon, so we get more tourists come. Then the business back to normal.
But returning to pre-pandemic times is a distant dream for many retailers. Katerina DeBice has spent 15 years building up clients at her hair salon in one of Melbourne's prime locations.
Our CBD was our flagship store, our busiest salon. The walls used to bend, and so it was always buzz. People were in and out.
But now it's her quietest shop. On some days, she has just 1 or 2 customers. It's left her with no choice but to cut her opening hours to 4 days a week. Before the pandemic, 850,000 people would visit the city centre daily, but foot traffic is now less than half as people avoid coming into the city. It means less walk-in customers, all while rent and other bills keep piling up.
And a lot of the businesses that were here are no longer here, and more of them are closing. I can't continue at a 50% loss for much longer. It's not covering its costs.
20% of shops in Melbourne's city centre have already closed permanently in the past year, or are yet to reopen. Australia's economy is showing signs of growth, but the recovery is uneven. Travel retailers and businesses in city centres are among the hardest hit. The country is also bracing for unemployment to hit 7% this month, now that the federal government has wound back financial support for businesses. The road to recovery is made even more difficult, with potential customers still working from home and no longer needing to shop in the city. Research shows most office workers want it to stay that way.
And also this massive trend towards people wanting to work from home, again, is having a massive impact. So we remain concerned. The occupancy rate in Melbourne is around 35%, which is quite low, and it's about 50% in Sydney.
A shift that could transform the way people do business in cities like Melbourne permanently.
The COVID-19 pandemic has helped accelerate digitalisation of Indonesia's small businesses. They are now embracing technology and innovation to grow their business. The benefits can be seen from both a business and safety perspective. Online delivery service, for example, has allowed these retailers to avoid crowded places such as wholesale markets while ensuring access to goods. This is widespread in the country's easternmost province of Papua.
This traditional dance welcomed the CNA team on a visit to an orphanage in Jayapura City, the capital of Papua Province. The centre has gotten an unexpected boost amid the COVID-19 pandemic thanks to civil servant Derek Norotuo. He's been spending his extra time and extra income here. The pandemic has meant less work for public servants like him. Projects carried out by the local government have been postponed due to mobility restrictions to stem the transmission of COVID-19. So Derek signed on as a ride-hailing driver with Grab, accepting Grab car bookings in his spare time. That has given him some extra income, and he now contributes 20% of his monthly earnings to the centre where he volunteers.
Pimpinan saya sudah lapor saya lapor juga bahwa saya selain ini, Pak, minta maaf saya punya banyak tanggungan di keluarga dan juga panti asuhan, Pak. Jadi saya ada masuk mendaftar sebagai sopir Grab gitu. Dan saya melakukan tugas Grab juga begitu, Pak. Jadi mohon dimaklumi, Pak, sebelum begitu. Oh, nggak apa-apa, dia bilang. Yang penting kamu ketika ada tugas kamu bisa selesaikan. Saya bilang siap, Pak. Saya bilang begitu, bisa, Pak.
COVID-19 has changed work patterns all around the world, driving people online to stay afloat, even in Papua, the Indonesian province with the lowest digital penetration rate. Metede Yekwa decided to make the digital leap, leaving behind his former job as a driver at a motorcycle taxi station. Now he plies his trade online as a motorcycle taxi driver with Grab, a move he made to improve his income.
Motorcycle taxi riders in Jayapura face challenges not usually experienced by other riders in bigger, more developed cities like in Jakarta. Road conditions here are more challenging. There are many slopes which are long and winding. Also, in villages, there may not even be a proper road. But riders take these challenges in their strides to ensure passengers arrive at their destinations safely.
Even with the move online, he has still felt the sting of the pandemic.
Waktu pertama-tama lagi gencarnya pandemi, semua harus berhenti bekerja, pekerjaan harus dibatasi, seperti begitu, pendapatan sedikit menurun. Karena resto sudah tutup jam 6, jam 5 sudah tutup, kita tidak bisa bekerja maksimal. Orang takut keluar, tidak mau naik ojek, pakai ojek, kecuali terpaksa sekali.
Demand for transport may have dropped during the pandemic. But with more people staying home, orders for delivery services, including for food orders, have gone up.
COVID-19 created urgent needs for business to be online to survive. 2020 was a turning point for us. Our transport business hit the most when lockdown happened. But it's fast forward the shift in our business. We are focusing on our delivery business.
Jayapura City is one of the most far-flung territories in Indonesia, located nearly 4,000 kilometers from the country's capital of Jakarta. Despite its remoteness, the city has attracted investment from technology companies drawn by its smart city ambitions.
Kota Jayapura adalah kota smart city, kota yang cerdas dan didukung dengan teknologi digitalisasi. Ini salah satu cara untuk mempermudah, mensejahterakan masyarakat dalam pelayanan. Jadi semuanya harus berbasis online. Apalagi dengan adanya pandemi COVID-19 ini, ya kita tidak lagi bersentuhan orang dengan orang, tapi dengan sistem yang ini kita pakai untuk belanja dan juga sekolah dengan sistem daring.
The central government has been supporting the push for digitalization in remote areas. The pandemic has accelerated plans to construct infrastructure for 4G cellular networks, a vital component for the digital economy. However, setting up these stations in Papua's mountainous areas is a daunting task.
Lokasi Papua ini cukup unik, ya. Banyak desa-desa yang bahkan kabupaten yang berlokasi itu di lembah-lembah gunung. Sehingga untuk membangun jaringan itu perlu melintasi gunung, ya. Papua memerlukan biaya yang luar biasa besarnya karena untuk membangun fisik infrastruktur, ya. Kita tidak bisa menggunakan jalan darat, ya. Harus membawa dengan pesawat, sambung lagi untuk helikopter.
Papua is also dotted by vast lakes, and access to some villages can still be a challenge. Beatrix Pepuho lives in Aceh Island, about a 10-minute boat ride from the nearest town, Sentani. Many in her village earn a living by making drawings from the bark of trees, a skill that's been passed down from generation to generation. Her work portrays scenes of the everyday life of her ancestors.
Every wood drawing tells a story. This is a story of how the Papuan people used to catch fish in the lake. But during that time, they didn't have a boat, so they had to call this mythical serpent to help them hunt.
Beatrix usually sells her handicrafts to tourists who visit Aceh Island. But with the pandemic, the stream of tourists to the island has dried up. So she's had no choice but to head online to platforms like Facebook. That's given her access to a massive marketplace. The number of digital buyers in Indonesia is projected to reach 190 million by 2024.
Untuk ke depan harapan saya ya mungkin lebih lagi kita jualan barang-barang hasil ini mungkin ke Tokopedia karena dulu kan kita jualan mungkin di turis kita tunggu tamu datang tapi sekarang kan ada teknologi jadi lewat teknologi itu kita gunakan mungkin lebih baik lagi.
And while the pandemic has upended normal life here in Indonesia, many are hopeful that it will also be a catalyst for change, bringing the many opportunities available online to the doorstep of even the most remote of villages as the country forges ahead with its ambitious digital infrastructure plans.
Visitors to California typically spend hundreds of billions of dollars a year on everything from hotels to amusement parks. But just like in Alaska, it's been a roller coaster ride for the state's tourist industry during the pandemic. Now, California's hoping to turn things around. An American tradition, a visit to Disneyland. After being closed for more than a year, Mickey and friends finally welcomed guests back to California's iconic theme park.
What a day. We have waited so long for this. You can just feel the energy and excitement all around us.
A moment that even brought some Disney fans to tears. Over the past year, those who depend on California's $85 billion tourist industry may have shed some tears as well.
It was devastating for the hospitality industry. Our numbers show that overall visitor spending in the state was down about 59% year over year last year, taking us all the way back to levels from the mid-90s.
Things are looking up, though. Coronavirus cases have fallen sharply, and more than half of the state's population has received at least one vaccine dose. Major tourist destinations like San Francisco are seeing visitor numbers climb as coronavirus restrictions loosen. And California's governor has announced a plan for the state to fully reopen on June 15th. Many California residents are just starting to get back out into the world.
For a lot of our guests, coming here to this park is an escape for them. And they've needed an escape from what has been going on in the world, probably more so than ever right now.
This amusement park near San Francisco recently received permission from the state to reopen at 15% capacity.
It's good seeing the kids out here enjoying themselves, playing games, outdoor activities that they weren't able to do for a while.
We've been locked up for so long, we're just trying to get out the house and trying to get back to normal. And for my kids, this is one of the things that they love to do when we weren't in shelter in place. So being our first day, they're super excited, and it just feels great to feel that, life again.
With the vaccination drive in full swing, Americans are starting to travel away from home again.
Our numbers are showing the demand's there. Consumer sentiment has been steadily improving over the last several months. So we know people are traveling. We know they're searching for travel online, booking travel online.
This park, as well as Disneyland, is only open to California residents for the time being. With many international travel restrictions still in place, far fewer overseas tourists are coming to the U.S.
There are other countries around the world that are doing very well too, and so we do expect, and we're hopeful that there will be some travel corridors or travel corridors by any other name, depending on what regulatory agency you're talking about. So I would recommend any traveler keep an eye on those announcements.
The ideals, the dreams, and the... If last year couldn't get any worse, California's tourist attractions are hoping that this year might still have a fairy tale ending.
Alaska is a state best seen from above. In normal years, tourists flock here to see its natural beauty, the scale and size of which is unmatched by almost anywhere else in the US. Knik River Lodge runs helicopter tours to the nearby glacier. COVID-19, though, has given them a bumpy ride.
It really just kind of destroyed a lot of places, and for reference, to start the season I had 0 bookings for my lodge. Our helicopter tours had some, but we lost all of our business in 2020 and had to scramble.
The lodge cut its staff by almost 3/4 last year and is running on half staff this year. It was also forced to lay out a new strategy to survive, targeting local Alaskans.
Everybody that lives here, they think it's their backyard and they don't come to these small lodges. And last year it was really neat to kind of gain a local following, and we had those regulars in the restaurant.
About 4 hours away, similar troubles have dogged another company. Seward Helicopter Tours hasn't been able to take tourists on its glacier dog sledding trips. Owner Sarah Stokey estimates 2020 business was down 93% compared to the season before.
Operating was really more about staying busy, keeping our brand and our business out there rather than, making money or providing for ourselves. It was more, we do this because it's fun. It's a labor of love.
Other staples of Alaskan tourism, like skiing, also took a tumble. The pandemic put a freeze on much of the $2.2 billion that visitors would usually spend. And last year was far from smooth sailing for the cruise industry, with a shipping ban shutting out more than 1 million tourists. 1 in 3 of all the jobs lost in Alaska in 2020 were in hospitality and tourism. But after such a dire last year, some have high hopes for the upcoming season. Haley Johnston is a wilderness guide, running tours of up to 10 days into backcountry Alaska.
You're walking through spongy tundra and it's wet, or you're crossing creeks like this.
Even without international visitors, she's hopeful this summer will be a breath of fresh air for domestic travellers.
I don't think this is news to anyone, but we were all pretty stir-crazy for the past year. I think there is a real demand for travel, and I'm really optimistic about the American market because I think Americans are very excited to travel. We've seen a ton of statistics that a lot of the travel they did last year was closer to home, but was to get out into natural spaces, and no one has more magnificent natural spaces than Alaska.
And those spaces, with plenty of room for social distancing, could be just the thing to help the state's tourist industry take off in the coming months.